Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday Democratic Caucus. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I am Lori Houghton. I represent Essex Junction. Just in case anyone's wondering, my whole focus this week is to get to Sunday and when the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Yeah, maybe we'll do Fly Eagles Fly next week as like a group sing. We'll see. Anyway, a few updates to start with. One, I want to thank everyone who's let leadership know if they're not going to be in the building as more bills come to the floor and as more people unfortunately become sick. It's really important that you let us know, even if it's just for a couple hours if you're not going to be in the building. Floor times will continue 10 Tuesdays, 3, Wednesday, Thursday, 9:30 Friday. Probably in a couple weeks that will change, but we'll keep everyone updated on that. The mezzanine committee rooms open today. Yay. So government operations and education are over there. And rooms 10 and 11 will come back online very shortly. So hopefully next week's meeting will be in room 11. I will do a much better job of remembering to stand on the floor and tell you where caucus is going to be next Tuesday. Caught me off guard today. Crossover dates, again, for policy is March 14th. Money committee is March 21st. And the exciting speaker soiree is coming up fast. It is a week from this Thursday. This is our biggest fundraising event of the year. It'll be held at the Alumni Hall at the College of Fine Arts. Our theme is Elevating the Voices of Tomorrow. So if you haven't bought your ticket yet, please do. And I think that's it. We're going to go over a couple bill policy topics. And then someone came and asked about being able to do a very brief introduction of a bill that they're looking for signatures on. And so I'll try and save a couple minutes for that if other people have that, but only a couple minutes. So we are going to start with H41, an act relating to creating a felony penalty for abuse of a corpse, which will be coming, I believe, to the floor this week. We'll have Martin come up.
Good morning. Martin Malone, representative from South Burlington, chair of the House Judiciary Committee. All right, nice, okay. So, not that long ago, I don't know exactly when this happened, but a woman in Enosburg was brutally murdered, and her body was missing for a number of days, and the offender burned the body and did other nasty things to the individual's corpse. So that's what led to this bill. We sometimes do some not very light things in Judiciary Committee, and this was one of them. Some very powerful testimony that we received from the child of the murdered woman. So, in any event, this bill it creates a felony for doing various things to a dead human body, hiding, mutilating, disfiguring, etc. 5-year felony. And then it has an aggravated felony as well for sexual act with a dead body and hiding, mutilating, etc. for the purpose of avoiding detection. And that's a 15-year felony. One other thing that the bill does is there's a provision in law already currently that possibly could have been used in this kind of situation, but really doesn't fit. And that's 18 VSA 5211, which relates to a person burying, entombing, transporting, or removing a dead human body without a burial transit permit. And it's a 5-year felony. So we changed that particular law to be a fine only, because really in the past number of years, we've been moving towards, there's been a movement for bury your own dead, essentially, and there's a lot of, where individuals can take the body to the back 40 and actually do the burial, and we don't want that to be a 5-year felony if they haven't gotten their permit. In any event, it's a pretty intense bill. We're going to vote it out probably this afternoon, so it will be on the floor on Thursday. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hi, Representative Charlie Kimball asking a very stupid question. There's no law against this right now.
We were a little surprised to find that there is no law against necrophilia, for instance. There isn't. And it was only for transfer or of a body without a permit. So, correct. We find those every once in a while.
Bram Klepner from Burlington. Are there protections for the medical center students who are practicing
Yes.
on corpses?
Yes, it's without legal authorization. An individual is guilty of abuse of a dead human body if the individual knowingly, without legal authorization, does these different things. Good question.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Next, we have Angela, also from Judiciary, coming up on H118, an act relating to expanding the scope of hate-motivated crimes.
Am I magic? Oh, it's the short. We got some wins. Actually, I'm shorter than I thought. So H118 is one of those bills that really just changes a few words in existing statute, but can have a pretty significant impact. Current statute reads, well, I'm trying to decide how much to read. A person who causes to be committed, or attempts to commit any crime and whose conduct is motivated in whole or in part by the victim's actual or perceived membership in a protected category. And this law, or this bill, changes it to say a person who commits in whole or in part by another person's or a group of persons, a group of particular persons, actual or perceived membership in a protected category. So this change expands our notion of hate crimes to include, and I'll back up a step. A hate crime is really a hate crime enhancement. So an offender will be charged with an underlying crime. Very often it's vandalism or disorderly conduct. And there's a hate crime enhancement can be added by the prosecutor for consideration by the judge. And also, even if it isn't charged at the time by the prosecutor, a judge can consider a hate crime enhancement for sentencing purposes. And so this expansion will cover more of what we're seeing in our society today, in that crimes that are impacting or targeting groups of protected people or protected classes rather than simply targeting an individual. And this is a request that came to our committee from the Attorney General's office. This is something they feel is needed to really, as I said, capture more of what's actually happening today. That's really the bulk of that's it. That's it. You can, if you want, it's a well one pager if you want to see who are included in protected categories. We haven't finalized that yet. I don't think it's finalized. All right. So race, color, religion, national origin, sex, ancestry, age, service in the U.S. Armed Forces or the National Guard, and disability with a definition in statute, sexual orientation, gender identity, and any perceived membership in such a group. We have not. We will hopefully vote this out tomorrow. I'm still just really thrilled by the fact that I don't have whatever's making this it's high. I don't have high. Yeah. It's my turn to be thrilled by that. Representative Dodge, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm so sorry for my voice. I'm homesick.
Oh.
and I have no idea how loud this is coming through in this room.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Greetings from Essex. My question is, we are in the middle of trying to expand some of our protected categories in Vermont's housing and public accommodations to include perceived or actual migratory status. And I'm just wondering whether this bill would consider that issue, that we're already working on expanding the protected category. So how would that work? Could we consider adding that to this hate crimes bill?
I'm tempted to answer, and I'm also looking at Martin. Yes, I would say perhaps we could discuss that. As we said, we haven't voted the bill out yet. I just answered before Martin shook his head, so yes, we will consider that.
Thank you so much, because I think that that bill is only coming into has been given to our housing committee. And so, yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Angela. All right, next we have our road show of Representative Kornheiser and Representative Conlon.
Morning, everybody. Peter Conlon, Chair of House Education. Come see us in our new committee room. The way you get there is you find a set of stairs that you never knew existed, go up them and look around a lot. There's a spiral staircase and some other staircase encased in glass. It's quite interesting. We're still working out. If you don't see us or we're late or whatever, we're still figuring out how to get from point A to point B in the building in the most efficient way.
But to be clear, it is open to the public.
It is absolutely open to the public. All the doors, they still have the badge things there, but they're lit green and everybody can get there. So come check us out if you'd like. House education, right now we continue to wait for some language that would outline how the governor proposes to move us from 52 supervisory unions to 5 school districts. We still don't have the details to that. It's very clear it would be complex and challenging and difficult. And so we're a little concerned. We are now a month into our legislative session. But meanwhile, I think one thing that we've found the field agrees on, and I think many people in our committee would agree on, if not everybody, is that dramatic change can't happen without some sort of school construction aid program. So we are diving into that this week as one of our main topics. We're going to be talking more with the administration. We also have the administration's Agency of Education budget to look at. Hopefully they'll be prepared to present that. It's tentatively scheduled for Friday. So we are also on the issue of 5 districts versus how many other districts. We also have a number of bill introductions that we'll be hearing, taking a different approach and looking at that. So we are working on things that are still within the same realm of responding to the governor's proposal. We're going to be getting a lot of testimony on what we do know so far, but we are still awaiting some pretty crucial details in order to really take up this idea of 5 districts in great detail. Emily will talk a little bit about the stuff we're doing together as well.
Hello, Emily Kornheiser, Chair of House Ways and Means from Brattleboro, here with Representative Conlon. This Thursday, we have a joint hearing in the morning, the whole morning, hearing from the School Boards Association, the Superintendents Association, the Principals Association, the Education Association. I'm sure I left someone out on that, Business Managers Association. In order to essentially ask them, what are the principles we should be taking into account? What should we be thinking about as we continue on this transformation process? And so that's going to be a really important part of our work. Encourage you to tune into that. Our Committee of Ways and Means today is diving into sort of the how do we raise the revenue and how is that structured in order to go into the education fund. this week. And so we're taking testimony on some work that the tax department has done and is putting forward regarding changes to the property tax credit system that would have make some significant changes around the state, simplifying, but also maybe changing who pays and how. And so that's going to be really important. For all of you who feel very excited by an income-based education system, we are going to begin taking testimony on ideas related to that today. And I think that is the budget testimony for Friday has been rescheduled. And so we will continue waiting for some more information from the Agency of Education. But in the meantime, all of the essential components that they have put forward, there's a lot to do to understand the shape of it. The funding formula, the foundation formula, we are still working to get essentially the assumptions that go into those dollar amounts are how you get to that dollar amount. That's how sort of a formula works, right? And so we are waiting to hear from our colleagues in the Education Committee about essentially what decisions they are going to make that feed into that formula. So if you are hearing from folks in the field, from your superintendents, from your school boards who are doing sort of back of the envelope or even front of the envelope math on that and feeling some concern, very understandable. Really encourage you to share that none of these numbers are even close to final. These are really challenging times we're all living in. There's a lot of very reliable-ish rumors about what might be happening on the federal level related to education right now. And so I think we just need to be continuing to talk to each other and prepare for multiple situations together and work closely with the administration and our colleagues in the field. Thanks for continuing to hear Peter and I talk week after week with you.
Okay, thank you. Candace White from Waitsfield. So I just, I received a message from our superintendent in Harwood Union area yesterday with some concern about an emergency meeting that the State Board of Education, I guess it was scheduled on Friday and then rescheduled to yesterday. And I'm just wondering if you were a part of that or have anything to share from that.
So the State Board of Education did meet yesterday also to react to Governor Scott's transformation proposals, most particularly the proposal to transfer all rulemaking for education from the State Board of Education to the Agency of Education. I wasn't there. I was at a meeting later with your superintendent, actually. And suffice to say, it was a fairly heated back and forth. There were some tough questions that were asked, and we're going to get more. We have the State Board of Education chair and vice chair coming to our committee this week to sort of give the state board's reaction to it. Nothing was decided at the state board meeting yesterday.
Bram Klepner from Burlington. Question for Representative Conlon. The school construction program that you are contemplating, is it only related to buildings that will continue to house education, or is it broadened to include schools from which people have been moved and helping communities repurpose those to their next use?
I'd say you're way ahead of us. So that topic is certainly one that exists. The bill as written right now, I don't think provides funding for a school building transformation. That is something also that I know that the Commerce Committee is going to be thinking about and looking at as well, as how do you, sort of continue a vital community if your school closes, but not that far along in the bill discussion yet.
I think we made a commitment at the beginning of this process that we would talk about kids every time we talked about this topic. And I realized that we have not talked about kids yet today. So on behalf of kids, I would encourage all of you to try to take a moment in the next couple of weeks to go visit a school in your district, whether that was at lunchtime and see how amazing our Universal School Meals program is working, or to just, help out and shovel some snow or whatever it is, but just go visit a school and see all of the amazing work that happens there and how wonderful Vermont's kids are.
Thank you for the reminder that this is definitely about our kids and our future. So next we have the chair and ranking member of appropriations to talk to us about the BAA that will be on the floor Thursday and Friday of this week.
Once again, we're racing over. Hi, everybody. Hope you all had a good weekend. If you can all hear me or not. Yeah, I know I need a deep breath running down. I'm saving my floor report for Thursday, so believe me, well, it's not all finished anyway. So just a reminder, the purpose of the budget adjustment is generally to tweak and make changes to the current year budget. We don't generally use it for new programs, however, or policy changes. This sometimes happens in the context of new information and circumstances. So we never say never, but in general, that's not where we go. So this year, and I may have said this last time, I can't remember, we have agreed with the vast majority of what the governor has proposed in the budget adjustment. There's a lot of housekeeping going on. There is a lot of backfill of funds that are in deficit, which were kind of surprising. That's another issue, but we're doing a lot of that. There's also $125 million increase in global commitment in the Agency of Human Services. About, what is it? A third is general fund and 2/3, this is not exactly right, but is Medicaid federal funds. And what we're finding is that that's related primarily to caseload and utilization. And when we've asked, we've learned that the caseload is the same or down, but the utilization has way up. And so that's really what's causing a lot of that. So that's a really significant increase that we haven't seen in the past. So those are some of the things that the governor put in. It's an entitlement program, so we pay for all of these things. You will be getting a draft version of a highlight sheet. Some of you have seen this before for various budgets. It's being copied now. And actually, Grady, did you just come over with it? Oh, the man of the hour. Grady has copies of it. It's in draft form because there's one other line we're going to put in at the top, which is what the governor proposed for the budget adjustment and then what the House did. So the numbers that are up there are going to change a little bit, but by and large, we're doing that. So some of the other highlights, we are funding courthouse security contracts and a handicap accessible bathroom for jurors up at the Essex Courthouse. Right now they have to go a couple of blocks in another building that's not owned by the courthouse, and it's very inappropriate. The caseload adjustment I mentioned, we are funding almost $6 million for traveling nurses at the Vermont Veterans Home. They are being afflicted with the same issue of the nursing staff that our hospitals are as well. We are adding, because we're pulling more down from the cannabis, we've had more sales in cannabis and we have more taxes. We're pulling $3 million into the general fund, and by statute, a third of that goes into the Department of Health for substance use prevention programming. So $1 million is going over into that program. We also we put in some language to expand, to ensure that the DCF fully utilizes the vouchers isn't really quite the right word, but what do we call them? I don't know, units. I can't remember what they're really called, to fully for discretionary exemptions for SNAP. So right now, if people apply for SNAP and they have to apply every 30 days, and if they don't get their next application in time, they're out SNAP benefits. But there are 29,000 of these vouchers. SNAP.
Supplemental.
Nutrition Assistance Program.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the state has access to 29,000 of these units for 1 month extensions for people, and they haven't been using them, and they go away as of September 30th when the new fiscal year starts. So there's no reason not to use them. There's no cost to us, and it supports families and people in the state of Vermont. So we're telling them that they need to use those vouchers. We also we have 21 million for nursing home emergency fiscal relief. We have another 10 million that the governor's administration asked us to put in after they presented the BAA for provider stabilization. We have some real systemic structural issues going on across long-term care and other systems we have in the state. And so we're putting a lot of money into stabilizing and maintaining those various long-term care things. And the provider stabilization also includes FQHC. So it's not just nursing homes, which is a separate one. And thank you.
my
Thank you.
job.
Yes, you're doing a great job. We are also putting in at the request of the administration, we're putting 18.5 million into a what do we call it? Medical.
This is, well, it
You wanna
is
explain it? Here.
basically to keep, it is basically to keep premiums at the same rate for state employees. They've underestimated what the cost would be. And, you know, the calendar year doesn't mesh with our fiscal year. At any rate, this 18.5 million will enable state employees not to be hit with a big increase right at the beginning of the year. That's going to have to be adjusted, of course, in the next fiscal year.
And it ultimately saves us money in the long run by doing this now. So it's kind of a new program. The big thing that you may have heard about is that there was $14 million that was going to be paid back to the treasurer's office. In July, the emergency board authorized the use of 14 million of a $20 million pot of money in the treasurer's office that we had given the treasurer a few years ago to pay down bond debt early. And the treasurer is not doing that because it's not to their financial benefit to do it, or to the state's financial benefit. So they asked for 14 million for flood relief for business loans, the BGAP loans, and then some manufactured home rapid response things. So $7 million to each of those programs, with the stipulation that the governor return that money from general fund into that treasurer's special fund. And so we talked to the treasurer and he said, that's fine if you want to use it. And so we had some ideas for how we're going to use that. So that's how the judiciary is getting their handicap accessible bathroom and some network upgrades. They were going to do some reversions and they didn't get the money back anyway. So they're getting what they need for that. $2.8 million is going to help fund the third pilot program that we approved a couple of years ago for developmentally disabled housing. And this is for a project specifically in Burlington on St. Paul Street that Champlain Housing Trust is doing. And so this is one of the key pieces of financing to get that done. We are putting in 1.84 million to extend winter rules for general housing emergency hotel motel program till June 30th. And then the remaining 8.6 million is going to go to the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board so that they can continue to fund projects that are in their pipeline. They have about $40 million in their pipeline through the end of this fiscal year. And between what they have left and this 8.6 million, it'll fund about 50% of those projects. So that's that's the big change from what the governor had done. But we are not impacting any of the programs that they're doing. And the treasurer came and talked to us and is very agreeable to and supportive of what we're doing with that $14 million. And the vote in our committee was 7-4 along party lines. And it'll be on the floor on Thursday. Okay.
Questions?
Thank you. Candace White from Waitsfield. So it sounded like there was maybe a joint fiscal report just going. Thank you for all that summary. I'm just wondering if there's like a document that we could access to just review that on our own before the vote. Oh, is that what it was just passed out?
We just passed out a highlight sheet that's going to get updated. As I said, we will send out an email later today with links to a very long spreadsheet that will show you the details. We'll send a link to the bill, although the bill's been introduced, H-141, and links to the transfers and reversions and the highlight sheet. I think Are those all the pieces? So a bunch of spreadsheets. And then we're also, what we do in our committee, for those of you that are new, is we assign everybody on our committee budget buddies. So you all have a budget buddy who is somebody on our committee. And this afternoon, you should all be receiving an email from your budget buddy saying, hi, I'm your budget buddy. Here's the links. If you have any questions, come talk to me about it. So hopefully you will all hear from those folks. So it's just one more way that we try to connect with you if you have any questions about that.
Thank you. Representative David Durfee of Shaftesbury. Not a question. I just wanted to comment and point out that it's close to $250 million that we're looking at in revenue variance compared with the budget that we passed last year. I'm reading it right off of the fact sheet here, 248 something million dollars. It's a tremendous amount of money, and it may not be clear to people that what we're talking about is highly unusual, but this is not the first year. In fact, I think for several years now, we've had surpluses that were fairly large, coming on the heels of a message from the administration that really focused on austerity and how, the good times were over. We needed to scale back. We couldn't afford the programs. I think we need to question, as we're going into this budget year, perhaps what some of the assumptions are on the state of the economy.
So thank you for that. I have a couple of comments. The part of the language in the budget adjustment you'll see, and what we're doing on the numbers, is carrying forward almost $134 million into FY26. And there'll be language you'll see in the budget that in the budget adjustment that it is for property tax relief, housing, and other items that this is sort of the catch-all, that will benefit the people of Vermont. So you will see that. So that's being held back. So of that large amount of money. And so the 248 million is the last July's revenue upgrade and this January's revenue upgrade, plus a change in the property transfer tax that happened. So that is what accounts for that. I will say that last night, and I just saw this online through Vermont Biz, for the first time in months, the general fund is down against the target in December, and December is usually a big month. So we'll see if January changes, but.
We have Representative Hooper online who has a question. Representative Hooper.
Hi there. You mentioned courthouse security. Are we doing anything to improve the security of the general state office owned or rented properties where people have been murdered, I guess, or
There's nothing in budget adjustment related to that I'm aware of. I don't know if anybody's here from judiciary or knows anything about, or human services. I'm a little unclear. I don't know anything about additional. Oh, the two things, there was an $800,000 reversion and a $50,000 reversion. When a reversion happens, it has to come back to the general fund and be allocated out to a different purpose. If you're just going to hold it in the same fund, then you don't have to do this. And the judiciary thought they were going to get it reallocated, reappropriated to themselves for other purposes, and that didn't happen. So that's what we're doing. So 50,000 of that is for this handicap accessible bathroom, which is now right next to the Essex Courthouse. The other 800,000 is related to network upgrades that they're doing at courthouses across the state. So that's what those two pieces are for.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, wonderful. All right, we're going to take a couple minutes. Representative Olson has two bills for introduction. Very short, please. And then I'll open it up to see if anyone else has any other ones.
Just how short I can be.
Yeah. So I have a couple of bills that circulated over the weekend. Hope you consider co-sponsoring them. The first has to do with the process and the standards by which, folks might think about closing a community school. The point of the bill is kind of give folks a fair shake to show that they're doing a good job educating students, and they're financially viable. It's kind of offered as an alternative to it says, look at these schools based on their merits, not based on, some arbitrary threshold. So I think it kind of fits in with the overall scheme of where I hope we're going. I just point out that a lot of communities out there are kind of concerned. I mean, people have lots of concerns, but around this particular issue. The second bill is would propose to have the Green Mountain Care Board establish universal primary care. There's a lot of things going on in healthcare. Some of which might work out. Maybe some might take a little while. This is really, I think, the first something that could be done over the immediate or medium term to really address affordability issues in healthcare in general, because primary care, good access to it, lowers the cost, or it lowers the rate of inflation at least. It would no enrollment, no overlay from health networks, insurance companies, no taxes. You use existing premium revenue, existing government program revenue to fund the program. So on those two, ask for your support.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you being short.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. That was great. Anyone else have any? Angela? This would be great.
I have a really quick one, and I'll mention it today because we, introduced today in the chamber. We're members of the Vermont Network Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, a really vital network in our state that is chronically underfunded. They rely on a number of special funds. The special fund is chronically underfunded, and I have a bill that was introduced last session and was really popular and when well supported, but did not get taken up. I would like to try again. It places an excise tax of 11% on firearms and ammunition sales to fund the domestic violence and sexual violence special fund. The tax is to be paid by the seller, and that's it. So I have that here, and I would just say this is something. Oh, I will say, to draw the link in case it's not obvious, there is a very direct link between firearms and domestic violence homicides.
Thank you. Anyone else? You need a microphone.
Thank you. Mike Murwicki from Putney. Question for leadership. I've noticed that our treasurer has put together a committee to monitor the chaos coming out of Washington. I wonder if we could have him come to caucus sometime and report.
I will definitely reach out to him, and we are trying to figure out the best way to keep everyone informed of what's happening. I know the JFO has done a federal funding document, and they are actually working with the administration and the treasurer's office right now to stress test our reserves to see what would happen. So everyone is working, and we will find a way to make sure we get that information back to the caucus. Jubilee. Karen. I'm sorry. There's a presentation on the House Appropriations website. We'll try and remember to link it out to everyone.
Representative Jubilee McGill. I just also want to note, if like me, you are hearing from nonprofits in your area who have not been able to draw down their federal funds, please encourage them to reach out to our Attorney General. She is collecting the names of those organizations as part of a lawsuit. So yes, please have them reach out to her.
Great. Thank you, Jubilee, for that. Anything else?